And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. Today is a very special episode this Wednesday evening, so we appreciate you all spending some time here and joining us here on this Wednesday night, or if you listen to it on your favorite podcast apps later on as well, too. It is DJ, joined as always by my co-host, Kelsey. And Kelsey, we've done a lot of different podcasts over the years, a lot of different topics, a lot of different rants, recaps, rankings, shenanigans, just randomness across the board. But today is something a little bit different. I think something that we've been looking forward to, and it's been a long time coming, I guess is how you described it.
Oh, that's an understatement. We've wanted to have this guest on. Actually, we wanted to have both these guests. So spoiler alert, one of them unfortunately was not able to make it today, but we wanted to have these guys on for a long time since we really started working with them almost a year and a half, almost it feels like forever ago. Really at this point in time when we were almost in our infancy, they were in their infancy, and now it's off into big, giant blue green pastures for these guys, and I'm glad to have them on finally. This is exciting.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, we can go ahead and introduce our guest, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the CEO, the commissioner of Colorcast, the co-founder, Evan Kirkham himself, as well as joining us. And Evan, we appreciate you joining us here today. Thank you so much for spending time to talk with us.
Hey, what's up, guys? I don't know about the legend, maybe the myth as of recently, but appreciate the intro.
You know what? A legend is subjective, so we'll go with that way as well. Maybe not a mythological legend, but like legendary.
That's right, legendary. Okay, fair. Nice to be with you guys. It's awesome. Yeah, we have been working together for a while. It's pretty cool to get to recap all of that.
Absolutely.
It's been, look, we did tailgates last year together. We did everything. NBA this time last year we were doing the NBA finals. So it's been it's been a whirlwind to say the least to finally get you on the show.
Yeah. Well, excited to be here, guys. Curious what you got on your mind.
DJ, I'll let you start it off then.
You know what? I think it's a good way to transition into our first segment as well. To our first segment, of course, is known aforementedly as the tip-off. The tip-off, of course.
DJ, I can't hear you. I think you might have muted on Colorcast there.
My bad. We are muted on Colorcast. We are brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Smell like a man, feel like a champion. Well, too. So this first segment, Evan, we're going to kind of reel you in a little bit easily. We're going to talk about some of your favorite sports teams as well, too. And I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. And we haven't talked about it much, but your Dallas Cowboys, a pretty interesting offseason so far as well, too. You lose Amari Cooper, you lose Randy Gregory, some questionable draft picks that had Kelsey losing his mind as well, too, at one point. Go ahead and tell me what are your thoughts on the Cowboys offseason so far?
Honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. I really losing Gregory is rough, especially when I feel like our defensive line needed all the help we could get. I do think we had some pretty decent pickups from the draft. So I guess Kelsey's not feeling that way.
No, I don't know what to think about the draft. Me and the Cowboys are torn right now.
Yeah. Well, honestly, so I've got a double bias going on here because I'm a Cowboys fan and I'm obviously an Ole Miss rebel. So seeing the Cowboys take Sam Williams at 2 with the second pick, for me it's cool because now I get to watch an Ole Miss rebel play as a Cowboy. So I'm probably overweighting how good Sam Williams is going to be, but I do like that. Firming up the offensive line, I think that the Cowboys do best when we have like a rock solid offensive line. Although Zeke will probably never be the same, so it probably won't matter. But yeah, man, I'm excited for it. Honestly, I haven't given football a ton of thought yet. I've been pretty into MLB. I've been pretty into the NHL playoffs. And then obviously I'm rooting for the Celtics like the rest of America. Other than maybe Kelsey. I don't know.
Hey, no, hold on now. Yes, I'm not going for the Celtics, but Casey, you remember Casey from Bruce Talking Sports? We just had him on, obviously diehard Warriors fan. He's obviously not going for the Celtics, but something about the Celtics, man. I just never get behind them.
Yeah. They're a storied franchise, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Absolutely, as well too. So I know you said you're not really thinking too much about football, but I do have the one quick question I have to ask you, and then we'll go into baseball. Tony Pollard or Zeke? Which one are you picking right now? You have to get rid of one of them. Who goes?
Pollard. Oh, Zeke goes. I keep Pollard. I was making this call. Freaking all season last season. I think he runs faster. I think he runs harder. I think he's a good catching back. I think he's just hungrier. So feed Pollard.
Yeah. Thank you. I wish all of America would understand. Feed Tony all day long. End of the day is he's going to be the future back in Dallas, and maybe this is back to the Dorsett days that you eventually have to let a back go and work a new back in.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm pro Pollard.
You got to find a way to replace those Brinks trucks that Zeke is commandeering right now. But I think once you get past that, you'll be good to go as well. So you just got to, pay off the cow for the next 3 to 5 years.
Totally.
So, okay. All right. Obviously you talked about NHL playoffs. This is game 1 starting tonight. As we're recording this, actually it is underway. But you being in Texas, the Dallas Stars did make a nice little run there at the end of the season to try to get themselves into position. Obviously, Dallas Stars, they're a conversation to be had for many NHL fans. Like, do you love them? Do you hate them? Do they need to be a hockey team in Dallas to begin with? Yeah. Obviously, you have strong feelings on that.
Oh, well, I'll start with the last piece first. Yeah, Dallas deserves a hockey team. The hockey scene in Dallas. So I grew up in Dallas. I played hockey in Dallas. From 5 years old to 18. The Dallas hockey scene is incredibly strong, all stemming from the Stars Cup win in '99. There's a really good hockey scene there, like adult hockey scene, youth hockey scene, all of it. Really nice facilities for everyone. So I'm for that. In terms of the Stars, I think that we're kind of getting to the end of not the end of Tyler Seguin's career, but Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn kind of missed their chance. I really like Miro Heiskanen. I like some of the other pieces they have there. This is going to sound kind of weird because they're traditional rivals. But because I watched the Stars play the Avalanche so much growing up, I actually have a massive soft spot for the Avs. So this has been a really cool postseason for me because the Avalanche are unstoppable. And I'm just loving what they're doing.
And everybody turned off their TVs in Dallas immediately once you said you were rooting for the Avalanche. All right.
Probably. Anyway.
Yeah, man. That is a unique take because obviously the Avs and the Stars back in the day, and it's kind of one of those rivalries that I guess a lot of people probably don't think about as much now because the Stars aren't where they were in the mid '90s. No. When we're growing up, we saw the Stars at their heyday. So no, it is funny you mentioned that though. That with the Avalanche, obviously they are out of their minds right now. Potentially, finally getting a trophy again, getting off the snide, if you will. And it's very interesting. Now, moving to the other sport, you said you've been following lately. Your Rangers. Yeah. Now, on the complete turn of things from the Stars, sitting in second in the AL West right now. Can you believe? Can you believe it?
It's blowing my mind because they have no pitching. In my mind, their pitching's awful. I think that they overpaid for Corey Seager, obviously a really great player. Marcus Semien, obviously a really great player. But in my mind, you don't go pay giant contracts for those guys unless you feel like your team's a contender. And I just felt like coming into the season before those acquisitions, the team wasn't a contender. So it feels like they're throwing good money after a bad lineup or whatever. But yeah, man, they're climbing. They're climbing in the rankings. So I'm still a fan. I live in Austin now, so everyone around me is an Astros fan. And I've got love-hate for the Astros. Just like the Avalanche, I see them so often that I'm familiar with their team, so it makes me kind of like them. Yeah. And also, this might be a hot take. I don't know. I think the MLB needs a villain, and the Astros are a villain, and I think it's good for the game. So for that reason, I'm also sort of pro Astros.
It's funny. They've always needed a villain. You think back in the day, the Mariners, the Yankees, obviously everybody's villain is the Yankees. Yeah. The Dodgers, still my enemy, if you will, as a Giants fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the Astros, they fill a good role and they do it well. They do it quietly and they do it well. They just make everybody hate them.
They do. No, they're awesome though. I love Altuve. He's one of my top 5 players. So yeah.
All right, I like it. So we've covered most of your Texas sports. We got one more we got to jump in on. The Dallas Mavericks making quite the run there as well, too, getting past the Phoenix Suns when it all seemed lost and then getting to the Western Conference Finals where Unfortunately, Luka's back eventually kind of gave out. You can only carry the team so far. What are your thoughts on the Mavericks run this year?
They went farther than I thought they would. I really don't think Luka has the supporting pieces that he needs. Obviously, Luka's an insane player. I love to watch him. He's so sneaky good. And literally every play is a 3-point play because he just draws so many fouls. One thing that disappointed me a little bit, though, is in after game 5, I guess. No, game 4 or 5, that must have been 5, when they lost to the Warriors. They did a press conference, and of course, they still had one more game to give. They did a press conference, and Luka and Jason Kidd were talking about next season, and we got further than we thought we were going to get. And I'm like, dudes, like, you're still in this. And in that moment, I lost, honestly, some respect for both Luka and Jason Kidd, because I'm like, hey, you if you're still alive, you can't be planning for next season. So I really didn't like that. But, yeah, they went further than I thought they would. We'll see how they do next year. They really need some supporting players if they're gonna make a run. Luka can't do that. And as we found with the Warriors, the best way to beat the Mavericks is to make Luka play defense and wear him out. And so they just drove on Luka, like, every single possession, and he was just gassed. So now people know how to beat the Mavericks. So I think that next season is going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you talk about their surrounding parts. Obviously, outside of Jalen Brunson, it was a lot of nothing coming from the surrounding parts. Tim Hardaway obviously being injured and not being there. Dorian Finney-Smith, he did his best. Let's just say
he did his best.
Not what you'd expect much from a guy that honestly most people don't even know his name. So to be fair,
and Maxi Kleber, all of a sudden it's like, wait, Maxi Kleber's like the number 1 3-point shooter on the team, like. We clearly need more shooters.
Yeah, that's Davis Bertans as well, stepping up, and
Bertans is kind of fun to watch, but yeah,
not hitting a 2-pointer until game 6 of the series. Like that was his first 2 of the series. So it was a wild ride. So for sure for the Mavericks this year. I mean, Luka, he's an old man game. Like doesn't play over a phone book. Still somehow gets to the basket. Still makes everybody look like a fool.
Yeah,
it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, his court vision's nuts. It's like, oh, he's going in for the layup. He's like a half a foot from the basket, and he dishes it out to the 3-point line. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Someone knocks it down.
Somehow it's less prone than a canned ham, but is bowling 295-pound DeAndre in the paint. It's like, okay, what is going on here? That's like an ant beating up a python, it looks like, but it still works somehow all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Anyway, in the spirit of the NBA Finals and kind of a prelude to what we're going to be talking about here a little bit soon, I got some NBA Finals Game 6 bets I'm going to run by you guys real quick. I want to tell me where you guys would go if we're going to throw some money down. So first one is going into Game 6, down 3-2. Boston is a -170 favorite with a -4 spread. Are you taking Boston with that, or are you taking the Warriors with a +4?
Is this for Kelsey, or you want me to just
kick that off? You. You're the guest of honor. You get to make the first guess.
I refuse to acknowledge this one. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. I think I got to take the Warriors. Steph Curry is unbeatable, and I think that, like, honestly, what I think will end up happening is the Celtics will step out to an early lead, like they've done in I think three of the games already. But Steph Curry in the second half is just so unbeatable, and it's because even 12-point run, Curry will march down the court, knock down some ridiculous 3, turn it into a 4-point play, and even though they're only chipping away at a 10 or 12-point run, he can shift the entire momentum of the game in 2 seconds and make everyone on the court remember, oh wait, yeah, that guy's the MVP. And so I really think that I think the Warriors take it. I think that it probably is this game, but if not, it's game 7. So I don't know. It's just hard to bet against them, in my opinion, and especially if you're going to get a good line if they're not favored. Then I'm taking Warriors. It feels like it's about as free money as I'm going to get.
All right, Kelsey, you feeling the same sentiment going into Game 6?
I'm standing by my pre-NBA Finals prediction of this going to Game 7 with the Warriors winning. So I think in this one, Game 6, I do think the Celtics take it. What was the point spread you get for the Celtics?
-4. It was a -4.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll. I feel like they'll win, and they'll win by six or more easily. So
Okay, interesting. And I'm
Yeah,
glad
I
that
think if they win it, I think they cover it, but I just don't think they're winning. So
yeah. No, that's the thing. It's like it's tough because like if they win, it's it's going to be one of those wins for the Celtics. Like, oh no, they're going in Game 7, like they just blew out the Warriors.
yeah,
And that's how it's going to be. But if they lose, I feel like this is going to be like a 2-point game. So I feel like taking the Celtics points anyways is a good option.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you all mentioned Steph Curry, because the next one I have for you is for him to score more than 28.5 points, that is a -120. So they're saying that the plus odds are if he scores less than 29. So you taking the over or the under?
Over.
Oh, man.
Over.
Yeah.
Didn't he drop 40 last game? And
game
40
4,
the game before?
Yeah.
Oh, game 4. He dropped 40. I think that I mean, I was watching him on the bench after last game, and like the smile on his face, you could just tell it's like, oh wait, this guy's about to go win himself another championship next game. And what's crazy, I don't know if he feels this pressure, but if Wiggins comes out and has a lights out game, Wiggins is all of a sudden like contending for that finals MVP. I don't think that Curry probably thinks about this stuff, but like he's got to put on a show to secure that MVP.
He is not LeBron James on the court, thankfully, where he doesn't think about his stat line. So that is a plus, I will say. I honestly don't think he gets it. I don't think he gets the 28, and there's multiple reasons. Again, I'm standing with my prediction that the Celtics win here. So that's part of the reason why. So he doesn't score 28 is the big reason. I also think Klay might finally have that resurgent game, the one where he just looks like Klay for a moment.
Game 6.
I think it's going to last. Yeah, like Game 6 Klay is a thing for a reason. He's done it his entire career. But I don't think it'll last long enough for it to be like impactful to the game. But I do think it'll last long enough that Curry takes off like the second and third quarter and was just like, whatever, guys. We'll get him in Game 7. See you guys at the Center. Like, bye. I just gotta stick with the Celtics on this one. Like I think if any, I don't know. I'm gonna ride this one to the death, I guess.
No, stick with it. I like it. Stick by your guns. The next one I have is Marcus Smart. Over 16.5 points is plus 100. So we say Marcus Smart gets over 16.5 or under?
Marcus Smart over 16.5 points. It feels like that does. I feel like I would want to take the over on that. I know it sounds. I imagine Kelsey will, considering his like bullishness on the Celtics. Maybe not.
I don't know about this. So this was tough.
Marcus Smart is a fantastic basketball player. I think that he is the best point guard for the Celtics. I think he's exactly what the Celtics need, but he's not really a scorer. And in my opinion, like he's a defensive first player. Of course, we're talking about 16 points, so it's like you didn't just say 29 points, which makes it hard. I'm probably going under. I feel like Smart can't really shoot. And he's gonna have to hit a couple threes.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm honestly, I want to lean under, but at the same time, to your point about him being the point guard for the Celtics, like he is that dude, and he is also the heart and soul of this team. So like, I feel like if they are gonna win, I think I need him to get 16 and over 16 and a half at this point. So I think he needs to get 17 at least to. And it will be some impactful threes. He hits those late clocks threes all the time that are just like 6 feet away from the 3-point line. He's like, you know what? Why not? Let's just see what happens. Like it's going to happen, or on a second chance opportunity. So you know what? Give me the over just because I again, ride it until I die, I guess. But so far, my predictions for these finals has worked out this far. I might as well see if it works.
All right,
just keep rolling with it.
Yeah.
Well, let me quick claim to fame. It's actually not any fame, but quick claim to fame. Marcus Smart graduated from my high school, so I got to pull for him in some ways. Yeah.
Ooh, so that's tough.
Yeah. It's just pure domination. Texas high school basketball. Just 1-2 state championships in a row. He's a beast.
Did he kind of flop all over the place in high school too, or did that kind of pick up a little bit later?
No, he's been flopping. Well, the hard part is he's been so strong since his sophomore year of high school that it was harder to sell then than it is like against an NBA player. But
biggest guy on that court just flies 30 feet after a 110-pound guy posts him up. I don't think
pretty much. It's like so definitely harder to sell in high school, but he still did that.
All right, cool. And this last one we got could win you some money or could win you nothing whatsoever. But the odds that both teams score at least 110 points, yes is plus 426, no is minus 715. So do you think both teams can score 110 and win you some money, or do you think not a chance?
Sorry, and no is minus 715.
Yep. So if you bet the no, you're not winning a whole lot either.
You're not winning any money. I mean,
It's like 30 cents return, right?
I'd probably take the over or the yes on that, just because, like, I don't know, sounds like it's more fun, the more fun position. I think if the Celtics win, I think it's a lower scoring game.
Yeah.
So, and Vegas, I feel like Vegas has probably got it priced right. I don't know. Yeah, I think they're probably not getting to 104, but it would be more fun to bet the over. So that's probably what I would do.
You know, if this is the bookend of a parlay, I'm taking the no. Like, that's just the safe option, and like it'll win me money at the back end. But yeah, like, I mean, if I want to get paid, of course I want to take that. But I don't think either team has scored over 110 together, like in the same game in this entire finals.
I don't think together they have. I think they've taken turns maybe getting over, but I don't think together they've been able to, because there's been some low scoring ones.
Because I want to say that the Celtics' biggest win was like 113 is where they were at, I believe, and the Warriors were at 126. But I know that was like a 126 to 102 game. Like, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go no. But like, again, this is one of those, like, if I want to win money, of course I'm gonna say yes. Like, why not take the chance? Like, drop $5 on it, see what happens. But at the same time, if I'm in a parlay, I'm taking no, and like I'm gonna hammer this one home as my safety pick in the parlay. Like this one's gonna be like I might take a flyer with Marcus Smart getting over 16 points, but this one's gonna win me money.
All right. I like that approach. We found your line in the sand. So that'll do it for our first segment as a tip-off. And now we're going to get into Kelsey's second favorite part of every show, and that is our main event. Our main event, of course, brought to you by In the Clutch Apparel. Click the link in our bio. Use code HILOSports. Get yourself some high-quality gear in there as well, too. And Evan, now's the time we get to do what you wanted, what you came here for. We're going to talk about Colorcast, talk about some of the new updates, talk about all of it as well, too. So I'm going to go ahead and start us from the beginning, and we'll work our way a little bit forward as well, too. So tell the people who don't know about Colorcast, who have been living under a rock for the last 2 years, tell them kind of how it kind of came about, like how it got started, the origins of Colorcast, if you will.
Origins of Colorcast relate to my Cowboys fandom. So sitting on my couch watching a Thursday night football game, Jason Witten and Booger McFarland are on the call. Both of them are notoriously awful. Jason Witten is particularly pissing me off because he's a Cowboy. Right? But because he was on the network, in this case ESPN, he had to be purposefully unbiased. So Dak throws a touchdown, Jason can't cheer, can't talk about sports betting, can't talk about the beer he's drinking. I don't know if he drinks, probably. Can't talk about what bar he's going out to afterwards, which players he likes, which players he doesn't like, and again, most importantly, can't cheer for the Cowboys. So I got so frustrated with that, I actually just turned off the TV. And in that moment, that was kind of the first, what we're now referring to as the first listener side assumption. Listener side assumption was this: if sports consumption habits and news consumption habits track each other at all, surely people would want to tune into their own bias. And that's really where it all started. We're like, people want to listen to biased commentary. This was pre-Manning. This was pre the Manning casts, like all that. And of course, it's evolved way beyond that. It's not just biased commentary. It's not even just better commentary. We've sort of been like, is it about having a better commentator? Is it about having someone that's like totally biased? And really what it is it's kind of all of the above. So the best way we can put it is it's bespoke commentary, right? Like you get to listen to what you want to listen to. And maybe it's more of a variety show and less of a play-by-play. Maybe it's someone who's totally in the tank for the Cowboys. Maybe it's a former player. Maybe it's just kind of a chopping it up with other fans. You get to choose the experience you want during the game. And so that's where Colorcast started. And of course, we started with it's honestly crazy. I wish I could show the kind of the actual progression of the app in terms of what it like looked like and felt like and everything. It quite literally started with one speaker, no chat, no stats, no scores, nothing. The speaker was quite literally just speaking into the void and didn't know if anyone was even listening, and let alone able to interact with them. So that was crazy. I mean, that's how we launched it. And at the time I was trying to convince people to come on. I'm like, hey, look, like create content here. Like, it's fun. It's a good way to practice. And that still remains true. But man, like, that was a lot harder to sell than what we have today. So fast forward to kind of what we're doing today. We have talk shows before the show, or before the game, after the game, all hours of the day. We also have, we pump in stats, scores, live betting odds, head-to-head, box score, all of it, so that you have kind of shared context, as we call it. Everyone knows what's going on in the game, what stats are happening in the game. Of course, you can text chat, and as we're doing right now, you can actually hop on the microphone and chop it up with the caster. So yeah, it's come a hell of a long way. Oh, and then the last thing we just brought out is now you can actually record your casts. So you can build a portfolio of work. So we feel like Colorcast is actually in a really, really great place now. Of course, there needs to be bug fixes. There's always going to be bug fixes, and some of those we prioritize, some of those we don't, full disclosure. But in terms of like major feature sets, we feel like Colorcast is in actually a really good place right now. So happy with the team and kind of what we've built.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned. So I'm sitting here flashing through my head of our time on Colorcast. Like, so we came just after the launch of Colorcast is when we first started, and that was like the first rendition of chat getting put into Colorcast. And I remember, you mentioned bugs, and it was one of the first big times like you guys had a big release, and it was like there was maybe 13 casters on the app, and it crashed. Like every like 10 to 20 minutes we'd have a crash, and it'd be like, wow, this is gonna be like, this is growing this quickly. Like, we're thinking like 13 casters was a lot at the time. Yeah. And then there was like the All-Star game where there's like 45 on, and we're like, I mean, it was going smoothly. And then there was the NBA or the NFL draft where we're like hitting 200 people, 300 people listenings. Yeah. And then last year's playoffs. I mean, it was like, it's been fantastic to watch the growth, just to see from our standpoint as casters. And you mentioned, it's funny because, you mentioned obviously people like their bias, and to your point, it's not always about bias. We kind of like, we grew our own standing by trying to stay a little unbiased, but at the same time, like we're a fan bias. Like, we want to see what's best for the fans, so we'd speak that into existence. So it's funny you mentioned that. It's like our bias was kind of the fan bias at the end of the day. Like, we wanted to make it a better spectacle for the fan, but everybody was able to find a market there with the growth of Colorcast, and it's been a fantastic thing to watch. And obviously, we just took a break because our work got busy, but man, it has been exciting to see the entire growth. And obviously, with that growth, we just talked about betting, and there was a big reason we talked about betting. Yeah. And I just want to, you guys had a huge announcement last week. And in my eyes, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're one of the only people that will be integrating a multi-sportsbook app approach, where you have access to multiple different sportsbooks.
It's true, yeah. And I mean, so I don't know if you're going to prompt me for this question or not, but I'll just go ahead and kind of talk you through the genesis. We at a high level, we see Colorcast as a fan engagement company and fan engagement platform, right? Like, we want people to be more engaged with the game. And we knew for Colorcast, the way we could increase that fan engagement was to make the broadcast booth accessible. So it was engagement via accessibility. When we started thinking about how we were going to move into the sports betting space, we wanted to figure out how we could, like, was it even core to Colorcast DNA, or were we just like chasing some trend? Right now, admittedly, it's a giant trend that's not going anywhere and is accelerating. But like, we don't want to be in the business of chasing and moving away from our DNA. But what's crazy is, as we started interviewing people, sports bettors, one of the questions we always asked was, what's your motivation for betting? And surprisingly, and now it's kind of less surprising, but like, surprising at the time was the number one motivation is to be more engaged with the game. You're going to watch, like, no shade to the Detroit Tigers, but like, if I'm going to watch the Detroit Tigers baseball game, like, I'm not engaged unless I have $1 on it or $5. It's crazy what even like $1 will do to your engagement. So we're like, wait, sports betting is an engagement tool. And so we're like, wow, that actually is pretty core. But then there are some actually serious fundamental problems in the sports betting space right now related to accessibility, right? So it's like, whoa, now we're back in this fan engagement via accessibility loop. Like, this is actually what we do really well. And the accessibility is actually pretty well, not simple. It's actually like it's pretty diverse. The sports betting space, it's like, I don't know where to get picks. It's not accessible. When I do find picks, I don't know how to actually evaluate those picks. The stats aren't easily accessible. When I do decide on what bet I want to place, I don't know where to place it because I don't know what the odds are. It's not accessible. When I go on to FanDuel to place my bet, I'm confused by what the hell 178 means. It's not accessible. And oh, guess what? The books, and I'm honestly not trying to throw too much shade on the books either, but the books don't want to make it accessible. Like, they're the counterparty. They want to win. And the more kind of asymmetry of information they have, the better shot they have of winning. And so we're like, wait, if we can help solve some of these kind of low-hanging fruit accessibility problems, we can get fans more engaged with sports by being confident and competent bettors. And so for us, it's a total fan engagement play and feels like very, very core to Colorcast proper.
Yeah, I like that.
But the multi-books. Yes, we're the only people doing the multi-books.
Yeah, sorry. No, I will. So that was one of the big things. Obviously, I was referencing your guys' big announcement last week that came out. You know, with your new seed round that came in. Congratulations, by the way. I know I reached out and texted you, and when that happened, because I was like, we passed it around on Twitter and then into the Belly Up, but like I wanted to reach out and be like, look, man, congratulations! Like, this is a huge deal because it's like, that's big. Look, DJ has his own segment of DJ's best bets for a reason. Like, sports betting is a thing going, and it is continuously growing for a reason. And it's like, when I saw that you guys are doing multi-books, that's a big thing that I'm like, I look at personally, and I'm like, that's fantastic because, we're in Ohio now, and it becomes legal January 1st. The problem is, which sports book is best for us, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that answers that problem.
And it's going to differ if you put together a straight bet versus a 5-leg parlay versus a different 5-leg parlay, the book with the best market and the best odds is going to change every time. And so it's not just about having loyalty to FanDuel and thinking they have the best UX. Like, they might have the best UX, but they might have the best odds for tonight's NBA Steph Curry 3-point line. But if you build a multi-leg parlay, maybe you want to be placing it on PointsBet because they actually have the better line. And we want to empower bettors to make that decision competently without having to download 10 different apps and rebuild their picks in 10 different apps to figure out where the best odds are.
Okay, I like that. That's genius. And I know exactly where DJ's best bets will be taking place here before too long as well, too, because that way I don't have to think too hard, because that's when I started losing my mind. But that's awesome. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit as well, to kind of go back to the journey along the way as well, too, where we kind of talked about the incredible growth of Colorcast, where I really, in my opinion, you could tell me if I'm wrong, where it really started the spike was after the South by Southwest. That I think it was about a year ago, just a little bit over a year ago now as well, too. So kind of tell me a little bit about how that 13th annual South by Southwest pitch kind of changed things for you guys moving forward and how it helped propel you get to where you are today. Yeah, no, that's that. I don't know if I had actually lined up the growth of South by, but yeah, you're right. It's startups are about credibility. You can build a really, really cool app and you can have a really great community, but even your best friend, or that's probably an exaggeration, even your friend once removed isn't necessarily going to check it out until somebody else with authority says, no, it's really great. And so that's really what South by helped us with is, I got up there, it was a 1-minute speed pitch. So I pitched Colorcast. We actually won the competition. So we got to, get a big media blitz out about that. And give ourselves some authority in the space. And so that created some kind of organic traffic, and then traffic begets traffic. So yeah, no, you're right. That is actually when the kind of spike started. And we carried that momentum with us. And I mean, I will say this: Colorcast in sports does have some seasonality baked in, right? Like the NFL crushes all other sports, even all other sports combined. The NFL is still by far the king. So we have and will see significantly more traction when we move into the NFL season, like we have the past 2 years. But yeah, anyway, to answer your question directly, yes, South by was a huge boon to us. And then even just kind of pairing it with, and here's the Super Bowl and we're rolling back into the NFL season. That was great.
Yeah, like I remember that was even a big win as well for you guys. Like, have you had that moment yet? Have you had the chance? Obviously, there's been a lot of successes along the way. You think about Vic Mensa partnering with you guys, all the different groups that have come forward and helped to bring Colorcast to what it is today. Have you had that moment yet where you get to step back and kind of, I won't say admire your work, but just take that moment to yourself and with your team and like obviously you, Tristan, and the rest of the staff who have been working on this from day one that are there together. Like, have you guys had that moment yet to like kind of like celebrate where you are and then get back to work? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. We're so deep in it that it's hard to remember to celebrate. Like literally, like even after winning South by or even after raising the seed round, probably 5 hours later, I have this moment where I'm like, oh shit, and now what do we do? Right? Like it's always that. So I'm never going to get away from that, but I am trying to be conscious of celebrating. And one way we've done that. So I mean, it's always like, hey, let's pat each other on the back. Like let's everyone have a drink tonight. Like whatever. That stuff definitely happens. We're an entirely remote team, and not just in the U.S. We actually have a developer in the south of Brazil and a product manager in North London. So we're like everywhere. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get together as a full team twice a year. And actually the first time that's going to happen, well, it happened in part. Most of the people were there for this last year's South by Southwest. The next time it's going to happen is July 12th through 15th in New York for a big sports gaming conference called SBC. So I'm purposely planning like a full day where it's just kind of like team building, like excitement. Let's see where we've been, before we get back to work, like let's celebrate. But I appreciate you bringing that up because it's something that like I lose sight of. And as the CEO, it's something I really need to be more conscious of.
Yeah. Because it's funny. Well, I bring it up because you and I personally have had conversations about that just based off of when, how I reacted to how we were growing on Colorcast and how I told you, like, sometimes I forget, like we do get a following on one program, but not on another because of something that we do well. And I wanted to bring that up because obviously you and I, like I said, had that conversation. I'm always curious to know if you guys have had that chance to come up for Mary yet though. Cause I mean, this is the first time, you've really had a chance to breathe. It feels like in a while.
Yes. It's the first chance we've had to breathe in a while, and I don't think we've fully come up for air yet. I guess it's the uptake, but hopefully we can get some of that when we're all together and actually able to like cheers, physically cheers with a beer. So
that's awesome.
That's the hope.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to spend a little bit more time kind of admiring your work and smiling and looking back a little bit too. Because I'm going to read you some quotes from some guys that have a lot of money bags just hanging around too. They definitely have some bags secured talking about Colorcast. Next Coast Ventures managing director, Mike Smirklo, says that he believes that the best proprietary technology and ease of use Colorcast is changing the way we interact with live TV and by extension other sports fans. Tribeca, ESP's managing partner, John McEvie, I think I butchered that name, I apologize, seconded those statements, saying we are doubling down on our bet. The speed at which the Colorcast team iterates is seriously impressive. I have every reason to believe they will be able to address the problems in the sports betting industry, like widespread confusion and betting terminology. How does that make you feel knowing that these people with Brinks trucks on standby are saying such positive things about your app and everything you've been working so hard to do, and even literally saying doubling down on our bet to bet on you guys?
Yeah, it's awesome. Both of them. So John McAvoy at Tribeca. They came into our first financing round. They came into this financing round. I've developed a really good relationship with him. He's fantastic. I really like the guys and gals over there. It's awesome to hear them say things like that. I mean, so that's great. Next Coast Ventures, Mike Smirklo is the managing partner there. It's funny, they're actually like 10 blocks away from me here in Austin. It was a sweet little shop in this old house. It's great. No, he's a kind of consummate operator, former Fortune 500 CEO turned venture capitalist. Like he's a really, really like smart guy and a good critical business thinker. So hearing him give us that praise is also really great. At the same time, now those individuals are part owners of the company, and so here we are, like with this do I get to breathe, or is it actually more pressure? And so it's nice to hear that stuff. But then here I'm like, all right, like, you know, Mike's taking a bet on us. John's taking a bet on us. Let's see what we can do. But, you know, for them, and just like what John said in his quote, it really goes to our team for iterating so quickly and being so responsive and so open. We're operating unlike a lot of other companies where we're just kind of an open book, and we're saying, hey, if you have a good idea, let us know. We'll build it. We'll iterate on it fast. I've said this in my pitches, but like, for instance, if the data told us that we needed to build a dating app, I wouldn't be shocked if our team could spin it up in 4 weeks. Like, we've got that kind of engineering prowess and that kind of just grind in us that I've got full confidence that we'll, with the cash we have on hand, the runway that gives us, that we'll be able to roll out something really, really cool. But it's great to hear those guys having that same confidence.
Well, if you could help out with my dating life, that would be fantastic. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, just the Kelsey dating app. I'm sorry, everybody else. You don't get to use it. It's just a beta for me. Like, we'll see if it works. No, but obviously we've alluded to it a lot, though. You obviously have a lot more pressure coming your way now with the seed money. I say a lot more pressure. It's however much pressure you put on yourself at the end of the day. But what is your plan? What is your next steps? Obviously, we talked about the sports betting app, but what else is coming up for Colorcast? Like, can you let us in on some of the details coming up?
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of the attention, and by a lot of attention, I mean like 80+% of the attention, will be us trying to bring the sports betting app to life. I mean, we're talking about like incredibly complex back-end development, spinning up of an entirely new interface. Like, we'll separately brand it. There's just a lot. In some ways we're starting from scratch. In other ways we're totally not, because we have the business infrastructure, the capital, capital coffers. We have the community. We have just kind of like the operating experience. I mean, when I started Colorcast 2 years ago, I was an attorney. Like, I had never run a business. I'd never hired anyone, fired anyone. I'd never raised money. I had never done any sort of software. Not that I do software development, but I didn't even like understand the lingo for software development. So like all of that, getting up to speed, that kind of like learnings that we got from Colorcast will help us accelerate the betting app. But there's still going to be a significant amount of time spent on that. So honestly, Kelsey, like, I don't know what's beyond that yet, because that is just, it's a beast in front of us. And I have confidence that we'll be able to do it and do it well. But there's going to be that same, just like we went through with Colorcast. It's like, here's the app. Whoa, there are a lot of bugs. Let's squash the bugs. Whoa, there are more bugs. Let's squash those bugs. Turns out people care about this one little feature. Let's superpower that. They want this. Let's build that. So we'll have to go through all those iterations the same we did with Colorcast.
Okay,
that makes sense.
That's awesome. That makes sense. I definitely look forward to it. My other question I have too is Colorcast and the new betting app. How do you kind of envision them being ingrained together, if that makes sense? Like, is it as simple as clicking a button, or how do you see it working together?
Yeah, good question. So as I mentioned earlier, first and foremost, they share like a really similar DNA, right? So it's about accessibility to a previously inaccessible piece of sport, to the sports universe, the broadcast booth or the sports book. So that accessibility unlocks fan engagement. And so it's, again, the DNA is like very, very similar. In terms of the actual app connection, we're still dreaming up how we connect the apps. It could be in the Colorcast app. There's quite literally just a bet now button when you're listening to a game that pushes you over to the app and gets you in that, looking at bets for that particular game. It could be something as easy as that. Down the road, it could be something as complex as a full kind of blown integration where it's just one app to kind of rule them all. I haven't gotten really that far yet, though, because all that I do know is that we need to prove the independent value of the sports betting tools that we're building. We'll never, ever charge. Well, whatever. I'll say these words because I don't think I'm going to eat them. So we'll never, ever charge people on Colorcast to use Colorcast, to listen to Colorcast. That's just a free service that's a community building and kind of like fan engagement service that we'll continue to give out for free. It's where our community lives. It's how they interact with each other. Like that's always going to be that way. The sports betting app will have monetization components. Like we'll have and I don't know where the paywall goes, but there could be a paywall to access some premium features. There could be a paywall to check out on different books, for instance. So there's some sort of monetization that happens there. The reason I bring that up is because in order for us to be a successful business, we have to monetize. And so I need to spend the next 18 to 24 months making sure that monetization engine rocks. And if and when it rocks, then we can start saying, okay, how do we take the monetization engine that is the betting app and blend it with the community building and retention engine that is Colorcast? And maybe there's just some simple integration, maybe it's a deeper integration, but I think when we have those two component parts kind of with this common thread of fan engagement via accessibility, I think we're in a really, really strong position as a greater company.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm actually glad you said that, because obviously you and I, we've had talks behind the scenes a lot and a lot of the growth. And that's something that you've always been adamant about, is keeping Colorcast free. And I, you know, I'm glad we're doing this on Colorcast as well. So I mean, you people, the group that's there, the audience that's there, they do hear this, and we are recording it as well. You know, we're using all the fun features as well. But
yeah, there it is.
You know, it is. The reason I bring that up is it's good in today's day and age where everybody gets the rug pulled out. I mean, you talk crypto, it's the next big thing. You rug pull. You know, like you know, you get a free. So many people get freelance gig jobs, a rug pull in those situations. You know, to have something as simple as a app where you communicate with your friends through Discord, through the conversation app, to have the CEO of that app come back and reinforce the same statement you've been making for 2 years. We're not going to charge anybody, and we're going to let this be a free app. That's really, I mean, let's be honest, it's disrupting the way people watch sports nowadays in a good way. It's providing a different aspect for them, and to hear that time and time again, I enjoy it from a lot of standpoint. And I know, looking at our audience, I mean, looking at the entire Discord built for Colorcast, is like everybody in there is in love with this app and what it's been able to do for them. So it is nice to hear that at the end of the day, you know, despite everything else that's changing, I gotta say it is nice to hear that at the end of the day. And I know a lot of people are probably appreciative of that as well. But you know, I building this sportsbook app obviously is huge. To what you guys have planned for the future, but not only did Colorcast disrupt the sports like entertainment realm, you're now sports bet. Now you're going to interrupt sports betting by providing a multi-sports book. Yeah. What's the next thing you guys are going to interrupt? Because I want to be on the forefront of it. Because I'm here for it.
Man. I don't know. So with Colorcast, the company, it would be something in the sports space. I don't know what's next. It would have to be again, we want to do things that are really core to our DNA and core to our community's DNA. Fan engagement. So it would be something probably along those lines. I don't know, like highlight collection. I have no idea. That's a good question. I'm still on the sports betting thing. But it could be something there. I'll tell you this much, and you know, if Colorcast has been successful to date, if it's kind of successful over the long run, and basically if my wife lets me do this again, then I do something outside of sports, I don't know, man. There's a ton of things that can be disrupted. I just haven't had a lot of time to sit down and think about what those things are, I guess. Haven't been able to breathe.
You're going to get a text message somewhere at random morning. Like, oh, hey, I figured it out. It's going to be the dating game. We're going to disrupt the dating game.
That's what it is. You're right. It's the dating game.
And unfortunately, I do have the one question I have to be the bad guy for as well, too, because I've already gotten 2 texts about it during this as well. So I have to ask, the app coming to Android or coming to the PC or anything like that as well, too. Is that all on the forefront, or are we sticking with iOS for now and everyone be patient?
Thank you for giving me the answer. Yeah, we're sticking with iOS for now and everyone be patient. As I've said before, there's actually reasons for this. So with the money and the runway and the tech team that we have and everything, we need to go prove the sports betting piece. We have, again, we're not charging our users. We have to find a way to become a profitable company, and sports betting is the way. So So that's what's putting the Colorcast Android on hold, is let's go build the sports betting piece. Now, the reason we're building sports betting on iOS first is the exact same reason we built Colorcast on iOS first, which is you really don't want to experiment in two separate petri dishes. That would mean that every time a bug is reported on the iOS app, we then have to go check for it, fix it, whatever on Android. It actually, in a lot of instances, means two development teams. And that's just way too much for us to handle right now. So our whole goal is to iterate, for instance, if we had launched Colorcast on Android and iOS, we wouldn't be near as far along in product roadmap on Colorcast as we are today, because every time we rolled out stats, we'd have to roll it out in two separate places with two separate code bases. When we rolled out multicasting, two separate code bases, two separate places. So for us, we're prioritizing speed. And so we hit that inflection point where we're like, oh my gosh, we have exactly what we need. Now it's just little tinkers. Let's replicate it. And so that was the same way as it was with Colorcast, as it's going to be with the betting app.
I'm glad we recorded that, because I'm going to send that to anyone who sends me the text message any more time. It's like, you'll be fine. You'll be patient. Jump on Facebook Marketplace and go buy an iPhone or something like that. You'll be fine.
There you go. Yeah, you can get them cheap now. Really cheap. Send me that recording, because I've got some people to text it to as well. So.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I got to ask, we've referred to it as the sportsbook. I know it's early in development. Yeah. Do you guys have a name yet developed for it, or are you spitballing? Are you going to send it to the community? What's the plan on that one?
That's a good question. It's one I haven't given a ton of thought to, but here's my gut on it. So, and maybe I'll take this back. I hope I don't offend anyone with this answer. So, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to do this really, really deep branding workshop where, again, I've already talked about sort of how I've talked multiple times now about how the DNA is kind of shared. But the question is who beyond the current community is the ideal customer for the sports betting app? What do they like? Everything from what is their education level? How sophisticated of a bettor are they? So we have to think about these things when we're putting together kind of our brand heuristics. Once we have the brand heuristics, then we can say, okay, I'm just making this up. Let's say it's college educated, moderately advanced sports bettor, right? Then maybe the name is something more, I don't even know, something more polished or something like that versus, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's I need to figure out what the brand heuristics are before I go for the name. Now, the question of whether or not we crowdsource the name, I think that I would love suggestions. So suggestions for sure. I think at the end of the day, the name needs to come from our team. And actually, more than anything, it really needs to come from me, because I have to own the vision. That's actually the job of the CEO, is to set and to own the vision. And so although I love crowdsourcing ideas and information, I really can't crowdsource decisions. So send me your ideas, but I'll tell you what the name is. so no better McBetting face or something like that, right? No better, yeah. Hey, submit whatever you want. Maybe it'll ring true.
Well, from everything I'm hearing, it sounds like DJ's best bets is off the table. So I'm just gonna just ignore that one for now as well too. But
best bets though, don't hate that.
All right, I'm getting somewhere. I'll take 2 thirds.
We'll send a contract over it.
Okay, nice.
So, as we're on the back end of our main event, Evan, is there anything we didn't talk about? Anything you wanted to touch on before we send you off into Crunch Time, Kelsey's favorite segment? Is there anything you wanted to touch on really quick?
No. You guys asked me all the questions that I wanted to answer. Well,
so that's perfect. So we're gonna
keyword
head off.
Wanted.
Yeah. Well, no, you didn't ask the Android question, so.
I had to throw it out there. My phone was exploding. You probably heard it fall off of the table because it kept vibrating with those exact questions. So that's going to do it for the main event. So that's going to send us to Kelsey's favorite segment of our podcast, Crunch Time, brought to you by Swift's Lifestyles. Click link in our bio as well, too. Use the code HiLowSports. Get yourself some nice pre-workout fuel as well, too. So Crunch Time is where Kelsey and I like to do either our rants or, in Colorcast terms, our hot takes. Those things along those lines as well too. So Evan, we're going to open up to you. Any hot takes in the sports world or any rants or anything you'd like to go on and see if you can out Crunch Time Kelsey?
Oh, I didn't know it was competition. Yeah.
It is now.
So I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier when we were offline. This whole live sports poaching golfers from the PGA is like the best thing that I've ever seen happen to golf. Like I was saying about the Astros, like MLB needing a villain, I think the PGA needed a villain, and this kind of Saudi league is just the coolest thing to ever happen. If you guys saw Phil Mickelson's press conference, where it was very cringeworthy. It was clear the dude's just chasing money at this point. It's pretty late career. I just think that this is the coolest thing for golf, and I actually think that they. I haven't gotten too deep into it, but I love the way that they, it's like 5-man teams, match play. Like golf needed to switch things up to kind of get a shorter attention span crowd, quite frankly. And I just love what they're doing. And at the same time, I hate what Phil's doing. So it was a good week for golf.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything about you just said about the live golf. I love this league, and not the people who put it on. I love the idea of this league. This league is very fun. And you mentioned, Phil's press conference. Graham McDowell had a great, presser as well. He was like, look, if I tried to do politics in every place I played golf, I'd never play golf and I'd just be a politician. Like there's no point to talk about this. You know what? If you think you can go win and be part of the top 5 and get your, couple $1 million, go do it. But honestly, if you finish 48th, you get $190K, sign me up. I'll be there. Yeah. I'll finish 49th with my 20 over par. Like, I'm gonna pick up a couple times. Like I love the live golf thing. I'm glad you brought that up because it's a fun story. Honestly, don't have much for rants this time. I mean, that was my big one this last couple of weeks has been that. The only thing I have is this Brittany Griner situation that is still ongoing. Adam Silver, for the first time, finally spoke out about it. Honestly, the biggest PC conference call I've ever heard. And it's just not good enough. Like, if anybody knows about the Brittany Griner situation, she's been in jail in Russia for now going on 6 months, 5 months actually, and it's not been picked up by very many major news sources, and the ones that do don't really cover it well. And it's a shame that Adam Silver, who, if you guys don't know, NBA is partly owned by owns the WNBA as well, so he is also in charge of the WNBA through his role as the head of the NBA. So it is a shame that this hasn't been dealt with and really just continues to not really be talked about. That's about the only thing I have thought to even mention during crunch time.
Absolutely, as well too. Well, once again, Evan, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We learned a lot about the future, the past, the present of Colorcast, and I can't wait. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, onward and upward. It sounds like great. I can't wait to continue to watch it grow as well too. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us and throwing out some hot takes there as well too. I think you out crunch time Kelsey in the last few weeks.
Oh, by far.
Oh wow,
I think you out crunched.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome. You guys have been there since the beginning, and I wouldn't want to be interviewed by anyone else. It was awesome. Thanks.
We appreciate it as always, man. It's a shame Tristan couldn't make it. Unfortunately, we'll get him on another time. Because I got to talk. I got to talk soccer with Tristan at some point in time. Him being an Arsenal fan as well. We got to talk about the new U.S. goalkeeper heading over there. So that's going to be a conversation for whenever we get him on.
Totally.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you everybody for joining us. That will do it for this episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. Once again, thank you to Evan and the Colorcast team for everything they do and joining us as well too. And we will see you guys again next week.